Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. So thank you so much for joining. My name is Caitlin Huema. I'm the admin assistant for global education. And today I'm really excited to be able to share some information about our upcoming 2022 J-term programs. And I'm also very happy that we're able to have program directors from each of our programs here today. And they'll be able to provide a lot of insight about their programs. And I also invite you to join tomorrow, as we'll be having another info session with the program directors from 4 of our other programs. And okay, so today I'm just going to briefly, in the first 10 minutes, go over some introductions. So where exactly is my office, and what are J-term programs, if we have any freshmen or sophomores who are unfamiliar with these programs. And then I'll talk a bit about how you can apply for the programs, and also how you can receive funding through your scholarships, and also cover like the deadlines that are coming up soon. And then the bulk of our presentation today will be from our directors, so you can hear exactly from them about what we will be, the programs that you'll be attending in January. And then finally, for the last 10 minutes, we'll be having a question and answer. So if you have any questions that come up like while you're listening to the presentations, I recommend that you put it in the chat, and then I'll try to moderate the question and answers at the end. And you can also, if anything isn't answered like during this info session, you can also email me or the program director of the program that you're interested in. Okay, so this is where my office is. I'm in Golisano 116, so it's where all the career coaches, and you can also contact me about if you have any questions about the J-term program, study abroad, Peace Corps prep. So I'm also a returned Peace Corps volunteer, and also international internships. Yeah, so feel free to contact me if you are interested in anything international. So what are off-campus J-term programs? So these are faculty-led programs where either 1 or 2 Hartwick professors take a group of students abroad to various different international destinations. Generally, the groups are between like 10 to 22 students, depending on the program. And the students, you would spend time attending classes or doing research or doing different activities, which our directors will talk more about later. And these are courses, academic programs, so you need to take it seriously because you'll be receiving a grade and receiving 4 credits. So it isn't just some like vacation or trip, but it's part of your studies. And some of these courses also satisfy different requirements, like perhaps language or experiential learning. So you can contact your advisor or the program director to find more information about that. Okay, so upcoming deadlines. The one that's closest is April 16th. We are accepting applications for J-term scholarships. So you can go on our website, and there's 2 forms. There's one that's just like a general application, and then there's also a Google form that you can submit your personal statement. I'll talk a little bit about that later. And then April 30th is the J-term program application deadline. So that's also on our website, and you can, once you've decided which program you want to apply for, you can fill it out and answer the questions. And then next is May 20th is the deadline for the $500 deposits. And then lastly, the full program payments are due on August 1st. So this will be billed along with your fall tuition. Okay, so some more information about scholarships. In 2020, which is the last year that we had J-term programs, over 50 scholarships were awarded, and these tend to be rather selective. About 1/3 of applicants received a scholarship, but it depends on how big the pool is. And the average amount was $2,200. And we look to several different criteria when we award the scholarships. For example, you need to have a GPA of above 2.0. And we also consider if you have like financial need, and if you have previous travel experience, or if you've received a scholarship in the past, we might try to prioritize someone who hasn't used one before. And then we also look at the quality of the personal statement, and I believe you need 2 references for the scholarship application. So the personal statement, once you go into the Google form, it'll tell you more information about like different prompts and things that you can discuss in your statement. And this can all be found on the website. So go to hartwick.edu/jterm scholarships. And it also includes like a list of all the various named scholarships that have been, like alumni and faculty and parents have given to be used for J-term programs. Okay, and next, the application process is you can just go on to the website, hartwick.edu/jterm, and it should be all updated by now. So you click on complete program registration information, and then it'll take you to another page where you hit the big blue button, and then you can click on the application. Or once you click on that form, it just asks for like your account, or not your like student ID or other information. And then it'll ask you like the reasons for why you applied for the program, any relevant courses, previous travel, study abroad history, emergency contacts, passport information if you have that. One thing to note is you don't need to have your passport right now in order to apply, but you definitely need to make sure your passport won't expire before you leave the country. Otherwise you won't be allowed, and that would be really unfortunate. Okay. So one last thing about deposits. So we have here, we collect $500 deposits from students on by May 20th, 2021. And it's important that we receive this because it goes towards the program costs, so such as making deposits on airfare or lodging. And one thing to note is that you can't apply your scholarship to that deposit. So if you receive a scholarship, it'll cover like the part of the program cost, but you need to be able to come up with the $500 before that. And you can find out more information about like all of our policies and like the withdrawal policy, refund policy at the website, hartwick.edu/jterm. Okay, and again, if you have any questions about this, please put them in the chat or feel free to email me later, and we will discuss that in the question and answer session. So now I'd like to first invite our program director for the Japan program, Dr. Sherilyn Lacey, to present about her program. So let me stop sharing.
And should I just be able to go ahead and share screen?
Yep.
Okay, good. Thank you. Okay. So let me just start the presentation, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Sherilyn Lacey, and I am a professor in the history department, and I have run this program to Tokyo once before, January 2020, had a wonderful group of students, and we had just an amazing transformative experience there. The students were able to study Japanese language 5 days a week. So they were introduced to the writing system, to some basic vocabulary, a little bit of grammar and all of that. And we got some wonderful culture courses. So is everyone able to see the presentation right now?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Then, so this is the group that went in January 2020. Just an amazing group of students who spent 3 weeks in Tokyo with me with a field trip out, or a day trip out to Mount Fuji. And that is pretty much what we would be doing for January 2022. So, and this is everyone for a group shot at the Nezu Shrine, very, very beautiful Shinto shrine, about 15-20 minutes from Toyo University, which is where all the classes would happen. So the program fee, which should have been advertised on the website, I believe, $4,030. And I realize that everyone has a lot of hard work to do over the summer, maybe at a summer job, to come up with funds like that for a program. But it is worth every penny. It will cover round trip airfare. transportation from Hartwick to the departure airport, because the first 3 days of the program, which will start on January 3, 2022, would be at Hartwick. And then, so we would come here as a group, we do some pre-trip classes and preparation, and then we would very likely get on a bus and go to whichever airport we'd be departing from. That's not determined yet. It will depend on which is the best airfare I can get. It will cover tuition for all the classes and field trips at Toyo University, where classes will happen from 10 a.m. to noon and then 1 to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. The day goes quickly. It's intensive, but it's really great. Accommodations, so all the accommodations in Japan, transportation in Japan. You'll get basically a subway card to allow you to go around on the subway anywhere you want in Tokyo, as well as transportation for field trips and any admissions fees to sites or museums that we visit while we're there. So, and what would those classes look like? So what is your learning experience and living experience going to look like? This is a classroom at Toyo University. As you can see, it's pretty fun. There's room for lots of smiles there. And sometimes the students are learning language with really great teachers who have a wonderful sense of humor. When I went in for some of the language classes, half of the time people were laughing. And yet they picked up the basics of introductory Japanese. Sometimes those classes involve really great hands-on projects, like learning how to write Japanese calligraphy. So they had professors and Japanese students at Toyo University in there helping us learn how to write. Sometimes it's a weekend trip out to, if you could believe it, a rural part of Tokyo. Tokyo is the world's biggest metropolis, and yet it has areas that are, farm territory. So we went out to a fallow rice farm in the middle of winter. Rice isn't growing at that time of year, but they set us up to make mochi. The kind of stuff that you might buy in the store, only they boiled rice for us, put it out in mortar and pestle, and everyone was able to pound away at the mochi. So let's see. There we go. It might involve field trips to the Digital Art Museum, Team Lab Borderless. So we go all around Tokyo in our free time in the evenings and on the weekends. So we'll visit museums like Team Lab Borderless. And this is some of the students from January 2020. We might visit some of the better known historic sites in Tokyo, such as the Meiji Shrine or the Sensoji Temple in Asakusa. And then there is a full day experience at Mount Fuji. We go out to Lake Hakone. It is a substantial distance from central Tokyo, from Shinjuku Station. So it will be a fairly long subway ride, about 2 hours. But once we get there, we take cable cars up one of the nearby mountains to actually view Mount Fuji. The views are totally worth it. We do get to ride a ferry boat that's like a pirate ship. So, if you want, bring your eye patches. There are volcanic gases because we do go see one of the volcanic seams on the mountain. So you'll be wearing a mask for that, but the experience is incredible. So not only do you get to spend time in Tokyo, but you can go see one of the more iconic cultural sites in Japan, which is Mount Fuji. And then on top of all of that, there are free evenings to explore whichever parts of Tokyo interest students the most. So I did not schedule events for the evening. I left it open, and some students wanted to go up the Tokyo Skytree. Some of them wanted to go to Akihabara. They were very interested in manga and anime, and that's kind of the center of manga and anime in Tokyo. Some students want to go see Shibuya Crossing or other really vibrant areas where there's lots of nightlife. So, and then being at Toyo University really is very, very welcoming. The students there got to know the Hartwick students and often went out with them in the evenings just to go out for dinner or go see the sights together. And this is a farewell party that the students and the instructors at Toyo hosted for us at the end of our time there, kind of just to thank us for coming and say, let's all stay in touch and stay connected with each other. So that is the program in Tokyo. If you have any questions, that's my email address, and feel free to email me and let me know that you'd like to know more about the experience. But hopefully I've stayed within my 10 minutes.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, you're even a couple minutes early. So yeah. So yeah, I wish I were a student. I really want to go back to Japan, and yeah, it sounds like a really amazing program. Okay, so next program that we'll be discussing is the South Africa program, Changes and Challenges by Dr. Constance Anderson. And I actually received a video, so I'm going to play that. But we also have Dr. Anderson here to answer questions afterwards during the question and answers.
But I am Connie Anderson. I'm a professor of anthropology. I have taken students to South Africa for January term every year, except 2021, since 1997, after living there for 8 years before coming to Hartwick. So I've been back and forth many times since then. We leave approximately December 27 and return approximately January 23. And you can enroll in this course either as Anthropology 355 or Public Health 355. At that time, it's midsummer, and South Africa has the nicest summers of any place I've ever been, certainly much better than Oneonta in January. The price of $3,900 covers all of your transport, your accommodation, the required activities, and most meals, depending on how much and what quality of things you eat. And you can email me at andersonc@hartwick for further information, or phone me at 607-431-4861. Now, I'll see if I can get slides from one of the students that went a couple years ago to work. Although all students overdo the scenery and the wild animals and don't do nearly as many things like the archaeological sites, the public health school, the rural clinics, and so on. These are not in sequence, unfortunately. This is our final party at our bus driver's home. This is a Zulu village that we visit when we stay at a little town on the Indian Ocean. This is obviously a male lion from when we were in the Kruger National Park. This is a reconstructed Zulu village that was the last independent king's home. Part of it. I said about the animals. It's one of the places we stay. This area is called Giant's Castle. The whole range of mountains, the Drakensberg Mountains, are full of literally thousands and thousands of paintings on the cliff faces that you could kind of see up there, that date back to actually the earliest ones are engravings, and they go back to 80,000 years ago. So that is one of the reasons that we start here. But the other reason is it's cooler because it's higher altitude, so you won't be trying to convince me that it's 90 degrees when it's actually 70. So on from that. Oops. Carry on to the share screen. There, okay. Go on from this. Oh, you saw that. Just do that to me. I can go the other direction. Okay. This is a modern day Zulu homestead, which consists of the grandparents and all of their unmarried children and their married sons with their children, if they have any. So it's not quite large, but the children here are trying to teach us some of their games. More scenery, a waterfall there. That's the classic emblem of Johannesburg, the radio tower, TV tower now. Saw that. Okay, we go to a crocodile reserve. One of the most dangerous animals in Africa, but the worst is the mosquito, of course. Baby elephants. This is a traditional healer or spirit medium called a sangoma in South Africa, and they wear those wigs when they're communicating with their ancestors and asking them questions on behalf of people that consult them. A school that we always visit where our bus drivers' kids go to school. These are little girls performing a traditional dance for us. The Beer Museum in Johannesburg. There are several shots of that that are going to be in here, I think. Back to the school. This must be the kindergarten since they don't have uniforms on with one of our students. Baby hyenas, one of my favorites. This particular year, we were lucky to see leopards on at least 2 occasions. Local young men trying to teach our young men how to dance. There is a graduate of Hartwick who is a professor now at one of the universities in Johannesburg, and this is the area that he does his research in. So the ones that really look like slums are when we visited his research site. That's also the same area. Notice the baby giraffe there. Oops, no. Cheetahs that had to be raised by humans and given bottles will start purring when they see a person approaching. So this is one of them that we are petting. The largest cat that can purr. Bigger ones can roar and so on, but they can't purr. I wanted to start with that. This is the Beer Museum again, Mkomboti. Entering Kruger Park. The beach in mid-January, which is quite beautiful. Actually, there's an unusual number of people this particular day. Usually there aren't very many people. Most of these places are also the United Nations World Heritage Sites. Those are buffalo, another very dangerous animal. That's a monument to the Zulu warriors who were killed in January of 1879 in a battle with the British when the British invaded Zululand. This particular place we do stay in tents again, but they're raised up. They have steps that go up to them. They have wooden floors, and they now have cots, so you don't have to sleep on the floor, and a bathroom inside the tent for those that stay in there. So I'm eager to see that. Those nasty things are vervet monkeys, and although they look very cute, they're very bad about getting in through the windows and stealing your food. So pay attention when I tell you to keep your windows shut if you're outside. Okay, this is the party again. A shark got into this particular estuary. A local group of dancers that came to one of the places we were staying. Okay, those things are hops. The bitterest thing I have ever tasted in my life. And those little conical things are the places that we stay at Giant's Castle from afar. Those are beers. Fruit bats, which I think are adorable. I had showed this. Maybe I'm back to, nope. Crocodile Farm again. Or sorry, the reserve. Wild dogs. Those are the most endangered species in southern Africa, partly because people kill them whenever they get a chance, but also because they get all the diseases that domestic dogs get. So they're always dying from distemper and rabies and so on. The girls also trying to teach us how to dance. These are monuments to the British dead at the place the battle occurred in January 1879. Hippos. That thing there is an enlarged version of a necklace that the king used to give the warriors that were the bravest. So it's also another type of monument. The typical home in the black areas are still undeveloped. You always see lots of rhinos too. Those are mongooses. And us petting the cheetah. It's myself and my oldest daughter and my oldest granddaughter. I forget the cheetah's name, which one that is. The porch of one of the places that we stay. I think we've seen lions every year too. Going up to one of the rock art locations. Having a meal. Okay, that's a monument to the 7 greatest Zulu kings, and the round thing in the middle is a monument to all the queen mothers, the mothers of the king, your mother being the only one that a king will take orders from, and that's her beer pot, since women are associated with beer, since they make the beer. We started, that's an example of one of the rock paintings, which there's literally thousands and thousands and thousands. We also visit an orphanage, one of the places. The ones in the rural areas aren't very depressing. They're actually quite nice. And many of the children do have relatives that come and take them out over the school holidays and so on. The ones in the cities are very depressing. All right, it's a beautiful pregnant leopard here. So the former Hartwick students, now professor's research area. This waterfall, many people bravely jump off of, others try for a long period of time and never get quite the courage to do it. remember where we started. That's the bus driver there, and his wife and one of his sisters. Okay, I think maybe that's where I started. All right, so I will stop now. Okay, again, if you have any questions, please contact me. I have a lot of other things that I can send you, a lot of other information and so on. Thank you very much.
Right, yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Anderson, for sharing beautiful photos of your program. Another thing to note is that we also, the Global Office of Global Education has a photo contest every year. So you have the opportunity to win some exciting prizes for the photos. Okay, so the next presentation, we'll like to introduce Dr. Josh Garrett to talk about his program in Thailand, the People, Animals, and Plants of Thailand.
Right. Thanks, Caitlin. Let me share this. Whoop. All right. Yeah, thanks, Caitlin. So like Caitlin said, my name is Josh Garrett, and I'm an assistant professor in biology department, and I'm also one of the co-directors of what we call the Thailand Adventure, which is actually called the People, Plants, and Animals of Thailand, which is a biology course. And the other co-director who is not on this is Linda Swift. I've been to Thailand once in 2019 for one trip. She's been going, she's probably been 20 or 30 times. So this is a trip that's not a new trip, and she's really done a great job of setting it up. And you know, it's like I always say it's a kind of a well-oiled machine. And so here's a picture. I'll talk a little bit more about this in a minute, of at least some of the students on the last trip that I was at in one of the villages that we visit, where the women dressed up in their traditional attire. And I think this was actually after they had taught us how to, some of us anyway, how to dance. Didn't go as well for me. But going to kind of give you just a general overview of the trip. So where do we actually go in Thailand? You know, I think Bangkok gets a lot of attention in the southern part, but we're actually really not that close to Bangkok. We're up in the very northern part. The biggest city that we are in is the one we fly into, which is Chiang Mai, which is the lower one in that black circle, which is, I don't know, it's probably about the size of Albany, maybe a little bit bigger than that. And then we spend some time in another city, which is a little bigger than Oneonta, called Chiang Rai. And then we do a few other things. We visit some remote villages that are kind of in the very rural areas outside of mostly Chiang Rai. And then in 2019 anyway, I don't know if we'll be able to do this or not, we actually spent some time in Myanmar, which is also Burma, and a little bit of time in the country of Laos. In Myanmar, they're having some coups, and it's a little bit of a dangerous situation right now, so we may not be able to go there this time. But the trip while we're in Thailand is basically, there's kind of two parts. Although they're kind of spread out, and it's not exactly one and then the next, but the first thing we do is we get to experience Thai culture, from Thai food. And here's actually a group of us on the left here that did a Thai cooking class. But we go to restaurants, we go to little small, basically huts essentially on the side of the road, you know, and try their foods. We get to try a lot of different kinds of foods. We visit some of the Buddhist temples. I think it's about 80 or 90% of all Thai residents are Buddhists. And so you'll see there are Buddhist with temples, which are called wats, just about everywhere. And many of them are really extravagant, lots of gold and expensive, you know, stones and things like that. They really put a lot of, effort and money into these temples because they think so highly of them. So we do a lot of what we call wat hopping, where we go from one temple to the next. And I think this picture on the right was actually the first temple that we went to. But I mean, as you can see, kind of behind me there on the right side of the picture is one of the buildings, and it's, at least the outside, is pure gold. We see a lot of wildlife. We you can't see any here, but they're, different. We see fruits and vegetables that are grown, the different animals and wildlife, or in the wild, things like that. And then, of course, I think one of the highlights of the trip is elephants. We do at least 3 different days where we have some kind of elephant experience. This was actually, the picture on the bottom right was one that I took from our last elephant experience, where we were riding them kind of through these trails through the jungle. And so I can't tell who, but I believe on all of those elephants that you can see, all the students or all the people that are riding them were students that were on the trip. But we also do a day where we work with manhoots who teach us to kind of become a basic manhoot, which is a elephant trainer. So we kind of teach us how to kind of ride an elephant, steer it, and things like that. So that's one part. And then the next thing that we do is we actually, when we go, as I mentioned, the rural areas that are outside of the cities, we work with these hilltribe villagers that are technically not Thai citizens. They are refugees from either Myanmar or China, and sometimes Laos, that have escaped those countries for various reasons. And they've kind of set up villages in the remote areas of Thailand. So technically they're illegal citizens, or illegal aliens, but the Thai government pretty much just lets them be. And so when they came here, for a while, they grew opium and sold that, and they could make enough money from growing opium in 1 month. They would sell that to somebody that would turn it into heroin. But in the mid-90s, the Thai government outlawed anybody from in the country from growing opium. And so the villagers had to find a new way to try to make a living, and they really struggled for a while. And that's kind of where this trip, how it started out, where Linda in particular went there and kind of helped them to in particular, incorporate things into their diet that they were missing when they were unable to, afford more than just rice. Basically, once they lost the ability to grow opium, they really struggled to buy anything other than the rice that they grew that they could eat. So she's shown them how to get more protein in their diet, different minerals and other nutrients. And what you would see, especially in some of the older villagers, because of their poor diet for the last 20 or 30 years, a lot of them are growth stunted because they didn't have enough protein. They might be diabetic. A lot of them have high blood pressure. A lot of them are anemic. So although I will say Linda has really done some good work and helped them out a lot, and they've come a long way, I think, since the mid-90s, since she started going there. And here you can see we went to 2 different villages, and here each picture are a few of our students working with, in this case, I guess it's both, I didn't realize that, infants. They were actually drawing blood, and I think in this case they were checking for iron levels to look for anemia. It's actually kind of funny because, we prick their fingers and draw blood, and here, a lot of little kids in the US hate that, and they're afraid of getting shots and vaccines. But these little kids, they'll get in line, have their blood taken, sampled, and they'll try to get back in line to try to do it again. I think it's because we give them a Band-Aid that has like smiley faces or things like that, and they find that kind of cool. So those are 2 villages. So that's basically the second part of the trip. The first is Thai culture. The second is working with these villagers that live in these hill tribes in the remote areas of Thailand. And then some of the other things that we do, tigers, snakes, we do a zip lining adventure through and over the jungle. We watch kickboxing, drink a lot of tea, visit a monkey cave. There's a Hall of Opium Museum. And then we have a lot of nights where there's just free time, where you can go and kind of explore, especially when we're in the cities, you can explore the different parts of the cities and do whatever you would like to do. And then the last thing, just some other information. Tentatively, it looks like we're going to be going from January 3rd to the 22nd. Typically, we meet in New York City at JFK, and we fly Cathay Pacific to Chiang Mai, which has an international airport. And the reason we picked that airline is it only has usually one layover in Hong Kong. And the cost is about a little under $4,000. That includes your hotel for all the nights, airfare, 3 meals, and then all the group activities. And a lot of times, if you budget right, the money we give you for some of your meals can be used for souvenirs and other things that you might want to do. And there's a lot more that I have to share that I couldn't fit in this time. So if you have more are interested and want more information, you could email either of us. I probably would email me. Linda is remote And actually your email address is spelled incorrectly there, but either way, you could email, it's swiftl or garrettj@hartwick.edu, and we can answer any questions you might have. I think that's my last slide. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. Looks like a really amazing adventure, opportunity to experience Thai culture and also work with the hilltribe villagers.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I went once, but I plan on keep going back for as long as I can.
Yeah. All right, so next I'd like to welcome Dr. Betsy Bloom and Dr. Melanie Walcott to share about their program in Rwanda. Oh, I think you're on mute.
Unmute, and I can just share my screen.
Yep, go ahead.
So oops, there we go. So hello, everyone. My name is Betsy Bloom. I'm the chair of the education program here at Hartwick, and I'm introducing a brand new program that I'm doing with my colleague, Dr. Melanie Walcott in public health. So we're working with an organization called Partners in Health. The country director of Partners in Health, Anatole Manzi, who is the founder of the organization we're working with, Move Up Global, which is a Boston-based organization that's aim is to bring improved health and education to rural Rwanda. So our course is brand new, and we think that makes it exciting. We don't have a well-oiled machine yet, but I'm hoping that we will eventually. So our destination is the Centre Scolaire de Niyabirehe in the Musanze district of central Rwanda. We will be taking selected students on an opportunity to get immersed in a cross-cultural experience that is also going to be a practical work experience for education and public health students. Sorry. Okay. This picture here on the right is the school that we'll be working in. Rwanda is located in Central Africa and is known as the land of 1,000 hills. If you look at this map, it's to the right of the Democratic Republic of Congo. It's that little tiny pink country there. It's about the size of the state of Maryland. It's a stable country with one of the fastest growing economies in the world. It's one of the safest destinations in Africa, especially for solo travelers. So we'll be in a group, and so you'll be very safe. The community that we're entering is actually the community that Anatole Manzi comes from, and they are extremely excited at the possibility of having a group of Americans come to work in their community. So Dr. Walcott is going to talk about her piece of the program. Are you there?
Good afternoon, everyone. Like Dr. Bloom said, I am Melanie Walcott, and I'm in the public health program here at Hartwick, and we are very excited about this partnership. For one, we have been talking about the importance of health in education, and I think that partnering with the education department is just one way in which we're actually pushing that agenda or that concept in public health. So we're hoping to establish sustainable partnership with the schools. And developing countries, very often teachers are used to promote the health agenda. So in partnering with the teachers, we're hoping that they'll be able to identify common health conditions that students might have. Example here, in Rwanda, often students suffer from helminthic or parasitic infections and are not able to come to school. So they're absent from school because of conditions that are easily preventable. So at this stage, Dr. Anatole Manzi is actually developing an app to identify some of these conditions, and then how might we partner with the healthcare sector, local community members to intervene at the home setting. So we identify what are the conditions at the school, and of course we try to treat children, and then work with parents, local community members, and the health sectors. So we are hoping that our students here will learn about the organization, the delivery of health care services in low resource settings, and how can we use teachers to promote health messages. So we are hoping that the program that we implement is sustainable, so students will get a chance to work with the teachers, local communities to implement different public health interventions to address the public health problem identified. And then the next cohort of students could build on this. We are also hoping to incorporate the element of research. You may have heard about the WHO health promoting school approach, and this is really partnering with education to improve health outcomes of students, community members, and of course, so it's a all of society approach to improve health outcomes. And so in general, we think that the lessons learned from this program, students to help students to, if they were to work in global health, they'll be better able to engage, mobilize, build trust, and of course, to improve different health programs. We'll also be talking about the Sustainable Development Goals. So these are the United Nations 17 goals to improve the health and economic prosperity of all individuals across the world. So talking about looking at what this look like in the US settings and how it works in a low resource settings. What are some of the strategies that are being done at the local level in the schools, at the health department, different sectors or agencies in the community to achieve some of these sustainable development goals. So essentially that is some of the activities that public health students will be engaged in. You can go ahead, Dr. Bloom.
Okay, so as the students who are here on this in this program right now know, the education program requires students to do what we call a multicultural mini practicum, usually in January of their junior year. Some people do it in sophomore year, a few do it in their senior years. But what we try to do is put students in an environment where their ideas of what school is about are tested and challenged. By doing it in another country, we're kind of upping the ante. I've done 2 of these trips in England and 1 in Ghana in West Africa, and now we're going to be doing it in Rwanda. So what are we going to be doing there? Well, the students in the schools have recently been required to switch from a national language of French to English. So teachers and students are in the process of learning English. So my education students will be developing activities, games, projects, and we'll be working in teams to move from classroom to classroom. So for example, you may be assigned to the 6th grade classrooms. And so week 1, you'll develop a lesson or a project or an activity that you will do in the first 6th grade classroom. You'll move and do it a second time in another 6th grade classroom, and then in the third 6th grade classroom, so that you're developing your lesson and perfecting it as you practice it. We will also be involved with the after school program that may be doing some health promoting activities, clubs, soccer. There's a soccer pitch outside the school, and we will be bringing equipment, shin guards, cleats, balls that are going to be donated by the Hartwick women's and men's soccer teams here. This is, of course, something that's especially designed for people who are in the midst of the education program. So you would need to have the prerequisites of education 101, 102, 201, and 202. It's 3 credits. So we will be taking weekend excursions. Students will have the opportunity to do some cultural experiences and ecotourism, cooking classes, a chimpanzee trekking safari. And for those who want to, we'll be offering a a guerrilla trekking experience, but that's going to be to extra cost to the individuals who want to do that. And the total cost is $3,360, and it includes airfare, housing, in-country travel, 2 meals a day, and the cultural excursions. The students will have to pay for their own lunch and for their immunizations. I put Melanie's, Dr. Walcott's email here. I haven't put mine in, but all the ed students know my information.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Bloom and Dr. Walcott, for sharing about your program in Rwanda. It's really exciting, a brand new program, and I hope our students take advantage of wonderful opportunities shared by all of our directors today. Okay, so now I'd like to open it up to questions and answers. So it doesn't look like we have any questions in the chat yet. So if anyone wants to jump on and ask any of our directors some questions, or me, you're welcome to either put your question in the chat or turn on your mic. Okay, so given the slow rollout of COVID vaccines in countries other than the US, what is the Hartwick team doing to ensure student safety? So I believe my understanding of this, and anyone else feel free to jump in, is that we are hoping that the students will all be vaccinated by the time before January 2022. And then I think that like our program directors can speak about the specific situation in each of their countries. But yeah, we recommend that everyone be vaccinated, and also if there are any other vaccinations or like malaria pills or things that you need to prepare in advance, that information will all be provided to you beforehand. And I believe we're also going to be having like some sort of like pre-departure meetings before the students leave. So we'll talk about like ways that you can be safe during your programs. And
one easy thing to do is to suggest to go to the State Department's site, and they have all sorts of warnings, visa requirement, if you require, malaria pills, things like that. So students can also check that out themselves, or their parents can if they have any questions.
yeah, thank you so much.
Sure.
Okay. Well, if there aren't any other questions, I just want to thank everyone so much for their time and for sharing. Thank you to the program directors for sharing about their programs. I'll be sure to post this recording, share it with all of our students and faculty so that you can share it with your other students who were unable to join today. And if you have any questions about study abroad or Peace Corps prep, you're free to contact me. And one cool thing is that a lot of these programs, they also meet the requirements for the Peace Corps prep program. So if you like go to Rwanda or South Africa or Thailand, you will also receive credit for the Peace Corps prep.